Hello, hello. Welcome to Revelator Alpha, a live show, a radio podcast thing. It's all about that. It's all about the weekend. It's all about riding your bikes and having fun. It's about sports. It's a bit about everything, really. But this show is focused on the motorcycle scene. I've been going through quite a few of the stories. I'm in the shade there. I've been going through a few motorcycle stories out there, and I thought I'd bring you there's a little bit of news here and there, some interesting little gems. So I thought I'd bring it out to you. So if you're in the chat, let us know. Excuse me. Let us know how you do and how what you're up to this afternoon. And all that kind of stuff. I've also got on my screen live football going on, so I'll be watching a little bit of that as I'm doing this as well. I may have to, I may do another show straight afterwards, but that'll be more sports focused, and I may just do that purely on Twitch and not on YouTube. So I am broadcasting, transmitting, whatever you want to call it. This show's going live over YouTube and Twitch right now. So if you're in there, if you're in the house, let us know. Let us know what you're up to as well. You can do all the support thing via the different socials and all the support channels as well. Just let us know what you're up to. Excuse me, what you're up to today. So this is the show really is all about motorcycles, so on and so forth, and what's going on out there right now. So a few stories here. I'm going to just get straight into it. I'm not messing around today. And then afterwards, we're going to have a bit of a debate in what's going on. But first of all, let's do new bikes, shall we? Okay, new bikes. What's happening out there? It's a little interesting one. Again, there's not many new bikes. It's a weekend, it's a Sunday. But however, some of the press around the world have reported some new bikes, and I thought I'd bring you a few names that you may not have heard before. So Ural motorcycles, as we know, I'm a big fan of Ural from back in the day, but I'm a little bit confused by Ural as to where they're at and who actually owns them, because it's a bit odd. Okay, Russian manufacturer as well, but then they moved, obviously because of the conflict and because everything was banned from Russia, they moved their production to Kazakhstan. Well, Kazakhstan isn't a banned country. Then they're still continuing to relaunch their motorcycles, and this is the first one, the Gear Up. This is the first one that they've started exporting since the move to Kazakhstan. So it's not on the banned list, it's not on the whatever, but essentially it is. Now, I thought the Ural was not Russian owned anymore. I thought it was owned, excuse me, sorry about this cough, it's just persisting. I thought Ural was owned by an American-Russian, or a Russian-American, whichever you want to call it. And I thought that they'd moved production elsewhere a while ago. So I'm not exactly sure where I'm at with Ural. But anyway, so they're producing. I know there's a couple of importers here in the UK that import them as well. Actually, they've got a huge following all over the world, of course. I'm a fan of Ural, of the concept of a big utility sidecar vehicle as well. I really like that. But the apologies, the Gear Up sidecar also comes with an overhead valve air-cooled 2-cylinder 4-stroke flat twin 745cc, output of 41 horsepower, 5,500 RPM, 56.9 newton meters, 4,000 RPM. The front suspension gear has the IMZ leading link fork. The rear suspension has a double-sided swing arm with 2 Sachs hydraulic spring shock absorbers. Features a single-sided swing arm with the sidecar suspension. Single-sided swing arm with Sachs hydraulics spring shock absorbers as well as the 3 different suspension. The front brake, 4-piston fixed Brembo caliper, 295 floating disc. Rear brake has 2-piston fixed Brembo caliper with 265 floating, so on and so forth. The sidecar brake, 2-piston Brembo caliper, 245 floating discers. Have a look at that. I say, but let us know in the comments out there. Let us know, if you know more about the current ownership of Ural. Norcal Refrigeration and HVAC. Good morning from Santa Cruz, California. I know Santa Cruz very well. Back in the day when I was out that way. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. I think Ural. I've got a feeling that Ural will taken over. Now, could this be American Ural USA? Maybe there's like a subdivision where there was an American Russian guy who set up American Ural, and then they either started to make their own versions or they were importing, and then any sort of shortcomings, they shifted production to the Czech Republic or something like that. I can't be sure about this. I really can't be sure as to what. I'll just take that off. What happened there? But anyway, so that's Ural. They started production again with their sidecar. I say I'm a great fan of this as well. Great fan of this this bike. I mean, I say slow as you like, but they'll just keep on going and going and going. The problems with Urals is that they're always prone to lots of issues, and even the newer ones were prone to lots of issues. But these new ones that they've come out with, they've got good feedback on those as well. Okay, the next the next bike I really want to draw your attention to, not because it's a scooter or anything like that, but this again from Visor Down. Let me just have a look. Is it Visor Down? Yeah, Visor Down again. New motorcycle has appeared from the Spanish brand Wotan. So Wotan is a Spanish brand that makes Spanish bikes. It's a new 125cc Storm V touring scooter, which costs just under £3,500. So its price point and whatever. So lots of these scooters, the Spanish do tend to make some decent bikes actually out there as well. And a lot of these Spanish brands are also with some Chinese backing as well, Chinese source parts as well. But look, decent there as well. So, if you're in for a scooter, it looks good. A lot of these scooters kind of look very similar as well. The Italjet scooter as well. That's the Dragstar. That's quite a very popular one as well. And again, in India as well. In India, another store here. A Hero Maestro Zoom India launched tomorrow. Specs and features. So this is a 110 feature again. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and it may not be of interest to you, and I fully appreciate that. I fully appreciate that, but it's important. It's important to understand where I'm coming from and why I want to bring these stories out to you. It's not that they're small bikes, or it's not that they're boring bikes, or it's not that they're little scooters or commuters that nobody's interested in. The point is, I want to make perfectly clear, and I'm doing this to illustrate this, that there's going to be lots of brands, whether established or upcoming, that will be selling and bringing out small bikes, cheap, inexpensive bikes, and proving that you can produce bikes for inexpensive money. And these are the in my opinion, these are the companies that are going to flourish over the next few years because of the global situation. Whereas the big companies, Indian, Harley Davidson, so on and so forth, all those other ones that I've talked about before, are going to struggle because of this. Now, as my contention has always been, if companies like Harley Davidson or Indian bring out small CC bikes, then they would have a much better chance. BMW say, BMW, they only sell big bikes as well. No, they don't. They also sell a 310. They sell low CC bikes as well. They've been building those with India. I think they've just produced their 1 millionth bike as well. Similar to KTM. KTM are just producing a small CC bikes as well. Well, they've always produced the enduro type bikes, the motocross and everything. I'm just talking about road bikes. They're producing loads and loads as well. So, this is for everybody to get into this. The next story here is from Argentina, would you believe? So Argentina basically saying their motorcycle sales have risen to the highest level in 5 years, and obviously they're importing a lot of bikes. Some Chinese like the CF Moto, that kind of thing, getting in there. But their sales have been 400. Hold on. The full year sales have been 406,114. That's a lot, right? For 1 year. That's up 6.8%. But here's the thing: most of their sales, 21% from Honda. Honda, right? Everybody slates off Honda, but Honda selling bikes, small bikes all over the world. That's what makes them such a massive company, right? And if you look at the other brands which they're using, is Motomel, Corven and Zanella, which are Argentinian brands or Argentinian trading names. So if you look at I think I've missed it. Where are they? No. Motomel. Here we go. Motomel. They've got all sorts of different bikes, right? Loads of bikes. Sort of trail bikes, scooter bikes, all sorts of things. Here we go. Motorcycles right at the top. They got this Sirius here. You got the street bikes. Let's have a look here. All the little scooters, right? All the little incarnations that you can have. This is Motomel. Okay, little trail bikes or street trail bikes. Sort of trail adventure type bikes. And then they got little bigger ones as well. They look pretty decent. Yeah, 200cc, 190, 150, whatever. But great, really good. I'd never heard of this brand before. So Motomel, you got Corven motos as well. I've got a feeling that a lot of these Argentinian brands are what's happening there? Oh yeah, a lot have Chinese backing. They seem to have a lot of similar brands to Chinese brands as well. It could be that a lot of it is like that. Or it could be that they're actually just producing their own as well. But I've just got a feeling they're producing a lot. And the Triax, these trail bikes as well, yeah, decent. So that's Corven. Then Zanella, again, very similar to this sort of Chinese influence or style bikes. It's very hard to say. This looks very much Rieju to me. The Spanish brand, with Chinese backing as well, or Chinese source parts or manufactured parts, I should say. So this looks very, similar. 150s, 125, something like that. But these are the bikes that are selling. These are the things that people want. Cheap motor transport. If you remember, back in the day, back after World War II, in Italy, for example, the company Fiat, they were producing the Little Mouse, which is the Fiat 500. That is the one that kind of revived the whole Italian country, of post-war Italy as well. But it's a very small car, very cheap to run and everything like that. Scooters, things like that. So these are the vehicles that always bring on as a country, especially a country that might be developing or trying to, build up again after some hardship. And if you're going through some hardship in terms of, global pressures and inflation and all that sort of stuff, then obviously, there is something, to do that. I don't know, just 1 second. Brilliant. So lots of these bikes, 150s, they look decent. So Zanella, Corven and Motomel, there. Names to look out for if you're in Argentina. Hey, let us know. If you're anywhere else in the world and these are exported anywhere else, let us know as well. But there we go. Okay, the next story here is the Bestial. So Bestial, electric bikes. Again, electric bike. We all know it's going to be a big thing. But the latest electric motorcycle from E-Racers now available. Bestial E features updates for 2023 on previous years, including LED lighting. I mean, it looks a bit... I'm not sure if I like the whole battery exposed like that or visual. Again, I'm not too sure. Racer's latest creation takes a Zero SRF and combines its electric base with styling inspired by Ducati's Monster range. So they've taken a little bit of Zero motorcycle, a little bit of Ducati, and they put in a little bit of, their own. I mean, it looks decent. Yeah, all right. I mean, okay. Loads of e-bikes coming out for 2023. Just, keep an eye on that. Loads of e-bikes. I mean, here's a nice little fun project here. A Ducati powered custom with upcycled motor parts as well. There's a little bit of different, it's hard for me to say this, but there's a little bit of Brough Superior in this for me. There's a little bit of Confederate. Well, when Confederate was Confederate, now it's, I forgot what they're called now. But there's a little bit, this trellis here, a bit of Bimota as well. So it's an interesting bike, isn't it? It's an interesting look. It's a custom build, but I quite like that. Quite like that. It's quite fun. Quite a fun build. That, I mean, how practical something like this would be on the street. I mean, you know what I mean. Anyway, listen, that's that. Let me just get rid of some of these stories here. Interesting story coming out of the United States. And this literally, I don't know what the situation here is in UK or Europe, but also in the United States. But apparently, dealerships can now list motorcycles and other vehicles, RVs, whatever, on Google. Google is expanding the usability of its automobile listing beta testing by allowing American dealers to list any vehicle with a VIN number or vehicle identification number on their Google business profile. The SearchLabDigital.com reports that dealers will now be able to add listings for motorcycles. Google from now on, the program is still limited exclusive to American dealerships. Vehicle listings on Google allow businesses to display their for sale vehicle inventory on Google services, including dealerships, business profiles, and Google search. Okay, I didn't even know this was a thing, to be honest with you. I had no idea. But obviously now, if you're looking for a vehicle, you can go and Google it as well. And I suppose if you've got all the, the characteristics of Google in terms of a search engine, this might be the big challenge to the existing automobile sales platforms, and this could be like a big thing for eBay. Okay, against eBay, against Craigslist in the United States, against motorcycle-specific sales areas. So this could be Google sort of saying, "No, hold on a minute. There's business there. There's money to be made here. Instead of selling your bikes elsewhere or people searching on other platforms, all you need to do is come to this one-stop shop." Google as it, and basically go for that. So okay, interesting. I think there's a little bit within me that is a bit concerned by that. I've got to say, a little bit that's that I would say, well, I'm not sure about that. I will get into the comments now. Actually, let me just catch up with a few of the comments. I do apologise. I'm being a bit slack here. Let me see. I've missed a lot of these. Okay, right, here we go. My Dun Life. My Dun Life. Good morning from Ohio, United States. Good morning. How are you? Those look a lot like the Hondas. Yeah, there was a lot of Honda lookalikes in those Argentinian bikes. Yeah, for sure. Good afternoon, Gert Tichelaar. Hello, good afternoon. Al from Leusden in Netherlands. Hello, how are you? I'm very well, thank you. Cold is getting less severe, it seems, though. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. No, thank you. No Ural from me. Yeah. Well, I kind of like it. Gertie, I had a Triumph T100 Bonneville. Lovely bike. Great motorcycle. Own a BMW GS 2017 and a Yamaha XV 750 1995. Lovely. I always like those XVs. Very nice. Saw the Vespa story, Enrico Piaggio on Netflix. Interesting. Do you know what? I haven't seen that yet. I want to go, because obviously Piaggio came from their entry into the motorcycle world was a little bit delayed, because Piaggio were historically a huge civil engineering company. So they come from trains and I'm not sure, shipbuilding and stuff like that, but certainly huge projects. So they were part of the Italy coming out of the post-war World War II rebuild, if you know what I mean, and they were charged with getting the country back up and running as well. Goethe too, airplanes too. Second World War, yeah. So Piaggio, people think, Piaggio just little scooters or little three-wheel vehicles, but no. Piaggio, massive company. I think Piaggio, I can't be sure, but I think they are the biggest motorcycle company in the world. Now, the point is that they are not just motorcycles. I believe it's, if you consider them as a company, they have the biggest value. But I'm not 100% sure of that. But anyway, listen. Hey, thanks, Gert. Yeah, I really need to go and watch that, I've got to say. Right, so that... excuse me. Crikey, this thing here. Okay, let's get back to these stories here. KTM, this is an interesting one. KTM CEO... I talked about this the other day with KTM CEO was talking about electric vehicle bikes. He's not too sure about it. He thinks that, the alternative fuels, the synthetic fuels, the biofuels is the way to go. But here again, he's basically KTM's pit better. Batteries are not the near future of motorcycles against hybrid engines in MotoGP. Sports director Pete Biera does not believe that batteries are the near future of motorcycles over 125cc and would resist any move to introduce hybrid engines into MotoGP, while the car industry seems to have already committed to an electric future. This is from Crash, by the way, crash.net, if you want to read the full article. KTM first-hand experience of electric capabilities through its free-ride off-road bike, but a limited range of current battery technology means it remains a novelty rather than a challenger to combustion power. We don't see that the technology is on the table at the moment to transfer mass production bikes. So when companies like Harley Davidson say no, our aim is to go 100% electric, whereas there seems to be growing resistance from quite a few motorcycle manufacturers out there. Is saying, it's okay, it's good, but, it's not the only solution. And, they're keeping quite open-minded about it. And he's absolutely right. It's the technology in the batteries and the charging and the components and the raw materials that they're going to have to use. That's going to be the big issue here. So, it's good that companies like KTM are just saying, hold on a minute. Triumph have come out recently, and again, they've made quite a few stories about Triumph saying, well, hold on, electric bikes aren't the whole thing, biofuels. This is what, and again, if you watch my channel, I talk about this a lot. Biofuels, for the future, I've been talking about it for a long time. And synthetic fuels as well. So, watch out for that. Okay, let me just get rid of some of these. There we go. Right, so the next story here, and again, this is kind of the opposite view, if you will. This is from Japan, and this comes from Reuters. Reuters Associated Press, as I said in the live show yesterday, they don't really come out with a lot of motorcycle stories, but this is more like a business thing as well. This came out a few days ago, another story about Suzuki, how they're really trying to push into the electric vehicle market. But look, when I talk about the other companies, right? So let's say the companies that are going to challenge the existing motorcycle manufacturers producing electric vehicles, whether the ones that are solely producing them, let's say like Energica or Zero or Lightning or whoever, right? Or the ones that are doing it part-time, let's say like Harley Davidson with Livewire, for example. I've always said, wait a minute, hold your horses until the big Japanese four start producing electric bikes and entering the market. Let's see what happens. So here, this is what's happening, right? And there's a little story about Honda as well. But Japan, Suzuki, now they want to invest 35 billion over the next few years into 2030 into electric vehicles. And this is only cars, but motorcycles as well. So watch your space. Watch your space for that as well. Again, Indian motorcycle manufacturer Bajaj also beats, again, huge profits, high, but they are saying that they're going to get higher prices as well, but big domestic demand. They got 1 billion people in the country. It's the largest motorcycle market in the world. India, yes, granted, most of them are small bikes, small cc bikes, but the unit numbers are just insane. So Bajaj, Hero, TVS, to name but three, Royal Enfield, of course, huge numbers, and they're just going up and up and up because people are buying cheaper, more affordable bikes. And whilst the price is going up, and yes, even within India, that's a huge story because prices are going up and people can't afford it. Even these cheap motorcycles, what we deem as cheap motorcycles in the West, they're actually saying, do you know what? It's not good enough. It's too pricey. But with £2,000 or dollars to us is a lot of money to other parts of the world, of course. So we just got to be around that. But regardless, all these manufacturers who are producing the small bikes are showing really big sales growth. Not only the end of last year, but also the last quarter of last year and also into this year as well. So they're doing it. Honda vehicles, motorcycles and cars are also creating a division to speed up the electrification development. This is from Reuters as well. And they go into the whole thing here as well. But Honda Motor Company said on Tuesday it would create a division in a bid to strengthen up and speed up electrification business as part of an overhaul of its organisational structure. They're going for it big time. Watch out. Here's a funny story. I don't know. This comes from topspeed.com. I'm not sure about this whole article. I think it's a bit of nonsense, but there we go. It's 10 motorcycles that look terrible without luggage. I'm not sure. They talk about the Pan America, right? Pan America. Well, okay, just because it's got its boxes off, I don't think it looks terrible without it. So I'm not sure about that. And it's a bit of a nonsense. The Triumph Tiger, I don't think looks terrible at all. These just look like naked adventure bikes that you would you imagine, wherever you go. But then they come on to certain bikes, like the BMW K1600. Well, you can take the boxes off, but they've shown a picture of the K1600 with the boxes on. The whole point of the article is to say, we'll take the boxes off and show how ugly it is. Okay, well, show us a picture with the boxes taken off. Do you know what I mean? It's where's your point? The Versys, Kawasaki Versys, good bikes, really good bikes. Bunch of good, V85 TT, nice bikes again. Again, I don't think it's ugly without boxes. The GSXS 1000 GT, I mentioned this in a few shows ago. It's the biggest sports touring vehicle motorcycle in the UK of 2022. Again, they're saying it's terrible without the boxes. Well, then show it without the boxes then. This the Ducati Desert X saying it. Okay, well, I don't think it looks terrible. It looks all right. It looks like a decent bike, a very decent off-road bike. The Indian Challenger. Okay, well, okay. Take the boxes off. Show a picture without it. The point is, a lot of these bikes are not designed to be ridden without the boxes off. So to say that it's FJR 13 Yamaha FJR 1300 ES, great bike this is. I know a couple of people who've got these, really good bikes. But again, show it without it and see what trying to make it. The V-Strom 800D. Why is it terrible without the bike? So I gotta say, look, go read it for yourself, see what you think. I'm not sure that the title, I think, is a bit misleading. I think they're saying some motorcycles just don't look right without luggage. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not too sure I agree with that statement at all. Okay, now this is where we're going to get into the big stories, the big talking point of the today. Okay. So that's all the motorcycle news that's really come out this weekend. Not a lot going on, I got to say. Not a lot for well, in terms of new motorcycles, I've pretty much I've done all I can. There isn't a lot coming out the next few weeks. There's going to be drips and drabs here as well. But I think there's some little interesting stories there. I think I caught a couple of stories coming out here of motorcycle riders getting in trouble or getting in trouble with the law and stuff like that. And I just thought it made some interesting content here, interesting story, or something to talk about as well. Again, but there's one story which I'm going to come back to afterwards, because I think that's going to be the main story here as well. But let me just bring you this one first of all. So here's one of the news and store, the Cumberland News. This is up north somewhere. Biker banned after refusing to allow blood samples to be analysed. Basically, this bike has been banned from the roads after you refused to give consent to blood samples being sent off for analysis. Basically, Carlo Chiesa, 44, was arrested for criminal damage on his ex-partner's address in Whitehaven. Workington Magistrates Court. I'm not sure where this is actually. Prosecuting, Pam Niffy prosecuting said it was reported that Chiesa was seen using his motorbike. The defendant had become unresponsive on the way to custody and was taken to hospital. He declined to provide consent for the blood samples to be sent off to analysis. In other words, he's got caught pissed on a motorcycle. He's denying it, and then he refused to give a blood sample. Basically, and he basically said he was sentenced for criminal damage. He told me what happened with the blood test. He said, I don't need to give that. He has refused the test on what he thought was a legal reason, not a refusal. There's no suggestion of bad driving. He was in a bad state in the ambulance. There's no evidence of him being in that state on the bike. He's aware he's going to lose his license. He's a gentleman who has worked on bikes for a long time, and it's going to have a significant impact on his life. So he's banned for driving for 18 months. He's given community order, 30 rehabilitation days. I'm not sure exactly what the deal is, but look, here's a story where if you've got nothing to hide, there's no problem. Then give blood. So that's it. So you don't want them to get a blood sample, alcohol content in your blood. So that will give you an even fall. Well, you still lost your license, haven't you? You've still been banned from driving. I mean, ridiculous. And this is where people, people who ride bikes give everybody a bad name, really. And this pisses me off, I've got to say, these kinds of stories. But anyway, and there's loads of stories. For some reason, I don't know why, there's loads of stories. This next story, remember 2 or 3 shows ago, live shows ago, I talked about 3 people from the southwest of the country here in the UK just been sent to prison for running over, basically, another biker and killed him. Terrible state of affairs here. And the story and the prosecuting and the judge was very damning of the 3 who did this, and they said, how terrible it was. But what they're saying is that the 3, excuse me, this is a follow-up story. About 3 were convicted, were also ex-squaddies or ex-military from the UK. And they're basically saying, they're using terms like Hell's Angels style biker gangs. I mean, I wish they would do their research on this, not just coin phrases. But, they're basically, the crime outfits are... Well, again, you're just saying because they're criminals. How can you say they're criminals? They're not criminals. Again, really poor reporting. But what they're saying is that they're trying to recruit former military personnel, former squatters here at say, and who've kind of since leaving the military have kind of lost the sense of belonging, and that they're after that, and the leaders of these motorcycle clubs or various chapters, they want people like that. They want people who can follow orders and all that kind of stuff, and who will be 100%. So earlier this month, 3 ex-servicemen who joined a chapter of the notorious Bandidos were convicted of killing a biker spotted on their patch. I mean, it's a play on words here. Again, sorry, Daily Star reporting here, pretty awful reporting. But the point is that here in the UK, it seems that they've identified and the organised crime unit here in the UK. Here it's saying former detective in the Northwest Regional Organised Crime Unit, who did not want it to be named, said biker gangs represent a big draw for struggling veterans. Okay, again, this biker gangs thing really shouldn't, be careful of what they're saying. They are putting everybody into the same hole. Pigeonholing everybody. It's pretty awful. People who fought for their country possess all the attributes biker gangs prize. I wish, again, who is this person? He didn't want to be named, and you should be better than that. If you say motorcycle clubs or whatever, fine, but you're generalizing again, okay? One Afghanistan vet told us how he joined a chapter of the Bandidos. He said, I was struggling with my mental health and severely lacking in any kind of direction and purpose. There are a few things I had to do to show my worth. Let's just say you have to earn their trust. Well, okay. Again, wow. The more I read this, the more I wish I hadn't started. I mean, again, you could pick holes in this all day. Well, what's to say that this person was just saying anything they wanted to say? They're just making all this up. Who knows? But the point is that they've identified there's a recruitment process for ex-military to get into this. Now, are they just making the link that the 3 that have been put in prison were ex-servicemen? Therefore, they've jumped to the conclusion that all motorcycle clubs in the UK are actively seeking out ex-servicemen, to join their ranks. So it's a bit of a stretch here. Well, a bit of a long stretch, but there we go. Okay, right. So that's that story there. That's an ongoing thing. That's like a backup thing there. I just thought it was an interesting one. In all fairness, I do apologise there because I thought I didn't read it properly. I just read the headline. I read the first couple of paragraphs. I thought, okay, that'd be interesting. But the more I read it, the more I started picking holes into the report in there. Again, not so good. Okay, right. So this is the story that I really wanted to talk about here. So this is really much open for discussion. Let us know. Let us know. Big Boy Blue. I'm in a veterans MC. Hello. Thank you for joining. Let us know what you think of that. I mean, do you want to be pigeonholed just like everybody else? And just say that you like everybody else. Let us know. I think there's too much of that. Too much of generalising. Too much of generalising by the authorities. Too much of a general in all sorts. Not on just this subject, but on all sorts of things. And it happens time and time again. Whether it's in motorcycle culture, football culture, whether it's in whatever, street culture, whatever, it's when you're talking about inner cities, whatever, just goes on and on. Right. Here's the story. Basically, a biker, who says a biker, a motorcycle rider, biker from Liphook in Hampshire, this is. He's been jailed for causing the death of a Harley-Davidson rider in North Wales. Okay. You look at that and you think, oh, God, what's he done? Has he, violently attacked this person? I don't know. Okay. So the story goes on, right? The story goes on. So the motorcyclist from Liphook has been jailed for 16 months after... So when you read 16 months, you think, oh, hold on a minute, let me read a bit more. After causing the death of another biker in North Wales in 2021. So this guy's name, well, it's public knowledge, I'm not going to say it, but public reporting here. But he's 62 years old from Liphook, was sentenced at Carnarvon Crown Court. So Carnarvon is basically the northwest edge of Wales, right? beautiful riding roads in Wales, basically. On Monday, having admitting causing death by dangerous driving after a fatal crash in the A5 near Betws y Coed, or Betws Coed. Yeah, lovely riding roads around there. On September 7th, 2021. The court heard Godfrey was riding a Honda Africa Twin, nice bike, motorcycle as part of a tour group when he pulled out to overtake a Mazda and a BMW. So he did a double overtake right on the road. As he did so, he hit Jason Brown, 52, from Derbyshire, unfortunately, rest in peace, sir, riding in the opposite direction on a Harley Davidson. So Mr. Brown suffered significant injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene, unfortunately. Godfrey suffered significant but not life-threatening injuries. The court heard the Liphook man was left devastated by Mr. Brown's death and plans never to ride a motorcycle again. Well, okay, you can, the trauma, obviously, not only because he's caused this, but obviously he's caused death as well, but also the trauma and the shock of being involved in an accident like that, head-on collision, horrible. Sentencing, Judge Nicholas Parry ordered Godfrey to serve half of his 16 months prison sentence before being released on licence for 12 months. He was also disqualified from driving for 2 years and 8 months. Okay, this is a big story. Big Boy Blue. So let me just read this story because it relates to the other one. We did a memorial run We did a memorial run last summer for a fallen brother, and the RCMP had a helicopter orbiting our clubhouse all weekend. Royal Canadian Mounted Police, right? The Mounties, yeah, okay. Helicopter ordered at a clubhouse all weekend. Cops staked out on the road and followed us up and down the island. I wish they would do their homework before just going to conclusions, jumping to conclusions. I really do. I really wish they do. What, just because somebody's in a motorcycle club or in a club of any sort, then all of a sudden that makes them bad. The problem is, as we know, there's guilt by association, and then there's guilt by of an organisation, even if it's at the hands of members of that organization. So I think this is what they get in the United States. There's different laws, of course, but they have this is what what was the other motorcycle club that was got done for all that? I think Mongols, didn't they? The Mongols motorcycle club got all done for this. Individual members may have may have committed crimes, but then they charged the whole club as being part of a criminal organization. And the problem is that as soon as you get one conviction of that, and you get other motorcycle clubs of the similar size or the same size, and then it starts to filter out that you're not going to have any organization, right, no matter whether it's a motorcycle club or a knitting circle or whatever, doesn't make a difference, football club, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. If you've got a group of people, the chances are within a group of people, or especially if you've got lots of different units of groups of people or still operating under the same banner, there's going to be a percentage of those who are not nice people, not law-abiding, break rules and do criminal activity. But that does not mean that everybody associated under that umbrella, that banner, is doing the same thing. So this is what happens. The more and more instances you get of this kind of thing going on, the more and more there is ammunition for the authorities to label anybody associated with this kind of activity as a criminal, right? So this is what's happened over the last few years. It's become very, very popular for this attitude of law enforcement to have this. But then you get law enforcement having their own motorcycle clubs as well, and they start doing stupid things as well. So you think, well, hold on, you can't be one on a Monday to Friday, then at the weekend slap on a back patch, and then all of a sudden you start doing the same sort of shenanigans. It's just silliness, isn't it? It's ridiculous. It's excuse me. It's ridiculous where hold on. Yeah, it's ridiculous where there's this kind of generalization. Anyway, so that was that. I've kind of gone off on a tangent here. But here's the interesting thing here. Here's the interesting thing. That the guy riding the Africa Twin pulled out and he caused death. Now, I assume he's called death. It's called death by dangerous driving here in the UK. So I suppose they had to prove that it was dangerous driving. It doesn't really, I've got to say, this story is a little bit thin because it doesn't really go into a lot of detail as to, well, did they investigate? Were there any witnesses seeing how this rider was riding before? Did he overtake on a blind bend? You know, all this kind of stuff. So there's lots of issues here. There's lots of questions that I would say, okay, what led the court to think that because he caused death by dangerous driving, then this is like a manslaughter charge? And so I assume, I'm not a legal expert, but I seem to recall here, because I want to bring up this a few years ago. What happened here in the UK? There's quite a big story in the motorcycle world where there was a group of riders going on. They were sports bike riders, right? And they were speeding through or overtaking fast-moving traffic or lots of traffic. And what it was, they were all jockeying for position and going round and taking overtakes, all trying to keep up as a group, right? And that's the worst thing you can do. You're overtaking vehicles, and that leads you into making rash decisions just to get past a vehicle, just so you can keep up with your group, right? And this is where, you know, there's a lot of people riding bikes who don't really know how to ride in groups. They think they do, but they kind of, the safety margins that they employ are dramatically reduced. Anyway, that's a side issue. I don't want to discuss that. The thing was at the time that one of them had an accident and had taken a pillion as well. I believe the pillion died, and they not only charged the rider, but they also charged all the riders in that group for dangerous driving. I can't remember what the outcome of it was. And it was quite a big case, and it was quite a big discussion point. We're talking about, I don't know, maybe 10 plus years ago this happened here in the UK. Maybe, you know what, it might have been longer than that. I actually can't remember. But it was something like that. So basically, the action that you do on a motorcycle or on a car or any vehicle, if it causes injury or causes death, then the chances are you're going to be charged with something. Now, obviously, the intent isn't there, and that's why, you know, that's what differentiates a murder charge from manslaughter and stuff like that. You know, and and then obviously lesser crimes, and, you know, death by dangerous driving, which I believe, again, I'm not a legal, but I'm pretty sure that death by dangerous driving comes under the remit, or comes under the heading of manslaughter, and that you've killed somebody, but there wasn't the intent to kill somebody. There wasn't the mens rea, as they say in the legal world, you know, the malice aforethought. You know, you didn't mean to go out and actively try and kill somebody. It just happened, right? So this is what happened in this case. This guy's riding his bike, his Africa Twin. He's pulled out, head-on collision. So because he's on the opposite side of the road, the wrong side of the road, and he's caused that accident. But my question is this. I would like to know where the 16-month custodial service comes from. Yes, he only has to serve half of that. And, you know, now for him, he might say, do you know what, bang me up, I've just killed somebody. For me, if I did that, I would be absolutely devastated. And he's devastated. It says he's devastated. I would be mortified. It'd be terrible. I'm hardly surprised he doesn't want to ride a bike again. I'm hardly surprised that he's just, you know, whatever, he's devastated, because it's a terrible thing. And if you have to go to prison, you know, for it, you know, I never want to go to prison, of course. You know, and that's why, you know, I never want to commit a crime, because I never want to go to prison, right? But here's the thing. I mean, he's been sent down for 16 months. Well, eight months, really, I suppose. And he'd be in license 12 months. He lost his license 2 years, 8 months. Well, losing the license 2 years, 8 months, it's a nothingness, really. it is what it is. But going to prison is a big thing. So going to prison for causing death by dangerous driving, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, the counter argument is to ask the family of the person that got killed. Well, yes, of course, but then you're talking about emotions. You're talking about, but I'm just talking about logically. This could happen to anybody. This could happen to anybody. You can cause death on the road, and this is why it's so important for me, for people to realise. It's just be careful. What, you know, I see this on in my daily life, as it were, and I kind of don't talk about my daily life, as it were, in terms of my work life. But I've seen this for years and years and years. You know, accidents, incidents, deaths, all that sort of stuff. I've seen every kind of fatality that you can ever think of. Not something to boast about, not something I'm particularly like talking about, but that's the reality. That's where I'm at. But then I see all these causes of accidents and incidents, and this is one of the reasons why I ran a motorcycle safety initiative for many, many years, because of all the information that I had that nobody else had, and all the information that people thought they had, all the opinions that people had about why accidents occur, injuries, and everything like that. Anyway, so that's another side issue. But the point here is that. Excuse me. The point here is that many people underestimate, one, if you have a motorcycle accident, the length of time to recover. So that's one, right? If you do recover, you don't die from it. Two, the value or lack of value of the over-reliance on motorcycle safety protection. People think it's some kind of shield, and it's not. But thirdly, actually, the legal ramifications of having a motorcycle accident or a car accident, especially if you've done something wrong, okay, and what they believe you've done something wrong. Now, you can plead your case. You can say, I was only doing an overtake. It seemed okay. They, whatever. But if they deem it to be, illegal, and I say, I wish they gave more juice, more substance to this story, because I think that really would fill in the blanks and say, well, how was he riding in the first place? Okay, so if you're overtaking two cars at a time, that could be deemed that you're driving dangerously. Well, no, if you have a clear road ahead, absolutely fine. But if you're taking two cars at a time on a bend or undulating ground that you can't see the road ahead, then whatever. Now, let's just say he'd caused death by dangerous driving, or death whilst riding his motorcycle, or injury, but he had some kind of medical episode. Well, he still killed somebody, he still whatever, but it was an instantaneous. So is that a defense? Is that a defense that all of a sudden you've had some kind of medical episode? You could have a hypoglycemic situation, low blood sugar level, right? All of a sudden, that is very similar. It looks very similar. If some people can appear delirious, drunk, all sorts of things, and that's a common mistake by police officers, or when they see somebody who's got a medical condition, but they think they're acting drunk. They're not acting drunk. There's basically got a sugar imbalance, either high or low, and like hypo or hyper, and they might have some cerebral activity that's going on that's causing them to act a little bit funny, odd, strange, right? So could this, if you cause death by this driving incident, but you're under a medical situation, then it's not manslaughter anymore, is it? Because it's not something that you did out of negligence. And here's the thing: I think this comes down to negligence. You're negligent on your duties on the road of not only keeping yourself safe, but keeping every other road user safe as well. So if you're overtaking 2 or 3 cars at a time and you're causing an accident, or you're causing an injury or whatever, they're going to say, well, actually, hold on a minute, you were doing something incorrect, therefore the full weight of the law is going to be against you. I think that's, I don't know. Let us know. Excuse me. Let us know what you think about that. Let us know, because that just seems to be a bit. Justice has been done. Let's say justice has been done. You would imagine. But is it necessarily the right thing? Is it necessarily? Just make sure. I bet you I've done something wrong here. Hold on. Turn that off. Make sure that's on there. Yeah. Okay, it's good. Just let us know if the video's not coming through very well, or the audio's coming through very well. Hopefully it's all okay. Yeah, but I think here's the thing. If you cause death by any kind of activity on the road, I think it's automatically leans towards a manslaughter charge or a death by. Now I can't remember what it is. I wish I had my legal book or somebody that I could bounce off here. But I think it is you're automatically charged with death by a driving offence or something. But then if you've deemed to be doing something wrong, then it's death by dangerous driving or death by negligent driving. There are specific terms they use here in the UK. And I think obviously this guy didn't go out with intention to do that. But, here's a wake-up call for everybody, isn't it? To say, well, actually, if you do something and you have an accident, you could be losing a lot more than just your livelihood or your bike or some money. You could be losing your freedom for a while, And I think, and I'm not sure how the Gert, yeah, maybe there is more circumstances, information we do not know, and then the court does. Well, I would imagine so, and this is my point about this report. Unfortunately, it doesn't give any information out. So I can only surmise, I can only assume you're absolutely right. The court knows all the details, of course, and there must be some kind of witnesses. Maybe there's even a mounted camera on the bike, or either bike, or on some of the cars that it pass or whatever. Witness statements. It could be lots of different things. Who knows? But either way, this is what's happened. He's overtaken. He's on the other side of the road, the wrong side of the road, in inverted commas. And then as he's had a collision, so obviously the one chap, and unfortunately Mr. Brown, he's obviously succumbed to his injuries, and the other chap, Godfrey, he had injuries but not life-threatening. So very sad, I think. Very sad for that kind of thing. Anyway, listen, I just thought that was a good discussion to have, because there are, things can happen on at any time, and we as people who ride motorcycles, whether for pleasure, whether for fun, whether out of necessity, whatever like that. I think that motorcycle riders, bikers, whatever you want to call it, there are two sides to it. You can have motorcycle riders, bikers, who get a bad press through no fault of their own, through the actions of other people, and then you get bikers who bring it upon themselves, right? So the majority of people riding bikes are just normal people, right? Law-abiding people. They just ride their bikes. They might be in groups, they might be in clubs, they might do everything, but they're just normal people who ride their bikes. They got their normal jobs, they got their families, they pay their taxes, they watch some football as I'm watching now, all that sort of stuff. They do lots of normal things, but they just happen to ride motorcycles as well. But within that, anytime somebody does something wrong, there is a smearing of it all, and that's something that affects everybody. Gert, terrible for the guy who had the fright of his life. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yeah, I mean, there's always more to this. There's always more to it. I always say this from people who've ever been involved in an accident, emergency situation, whatever, that the shock that people go through is just never to be underestimated. The shock of witnessing something that happens right before your eyes, the shock of something that happens to you, is just, yeah, it's very, 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 yeah, it should never be underestimated, because this is, these are real things as well. Gert, I often experience strange behaviour towards my driving motorcycle. I understand that and drive carefully. I think it's what we call in the UK defensive driving or defensive riding, right? And I used to talk about this a lot as well when I used to have my motorcycle safety program, and I basically just put it out black and white. I say, look, excuse me, these are the reasons why motorcycle accidents are happening. These are the reasons why injuries are happening. This is the reason, and I know this because I witness it on a daily basis, right? So I gave out all this information. But one of the key things I always used to say was time and space. Time and space. If you ever remember two things on a bike, time and space. Okay? Don't worry about speed. Don't worry about your driving skill or riding skill. Don't worry about anything like that. Or worry about it. Be concerned about it. Think about it, of course. But everything that you do in a car, on a motorcycle, whatever, you can offset a lot of the risk just by giving yourself extra time and extra space between you and other vehicles. So if you've got lots of space, if you've got a wide open road in great conditions, dry conditions, it's a straight road. You can see for miles and miles and miles. And there are no other vehicles on the road. And it's daylight, whatever. Do you know what? There's nothing wrong with going fast. There's nothing wrong with going speed. Okay, if there's a legal thing, you can't break the speed limit. But when people say it's unsafe to go fast, you say, no, it's not unsafe to go fast. It's unsafe if you do something wrong and you impact on the time and space that affects you, that ability to ride your motorcycle or drive your car. So those are the two things, time and space, always the paramount. And I always talk about this now. Whatever I preached back in the day, I still ride like today. I could be weaving in and out of traffic, right? I could be filtering past traffic. I could be zipping out, but I always give myself time and space to be able to react to whatever I'm doing. And people say, oh, yeah, no, you're going too fast or you're going too close to that vehicle or whatever. He said, well, this is the problem. The point is that, and it's also about hazard perception and hazard awareness. I've always say this. You've got to be eyes wide open on a motorcycle, especially on a motorcycle, because you've got to always allow that other people or other road users do not see you. So you've got to be aware of not only how you're riding, but how others are driving as well. And there were lots of these little one-liners that I used to come out with to help people with everything like that. But it was lots of things. Beefy 0978. If speed was unsafe, the emergency services wouldn't be allowed to do it either. Exactly right. Although they do have some restrictions on them, supposedly there is something like a percentage over. But you're absolutely right. Big Boy Blue. I ride a black 2017 Road Glide Special. Yes, beautiful bike. Yeah, it's exactly right. Speed is not the only answer. And I used to have arguments with these safety campaigners who would publish so much stuff about motorcycle safety that used to drive me insane, and they'd never been They'd never spoken to anybody like me. They'd never spoken to people who were involved in accident investigation, collision investigation by the police. They'd never even been to the scene of a motorcycle accident or a car accident. And they're trying to tell you and I what is safe on the road or what isn't safe in safe practices. And they used to drive me insane. And people say, and there's a standard thing. Oh, they're going too fast. You have to slow down. Oh, we want to bring the speed limit down to 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour. And it's just like, okay, based upon what? What are you saying here? I used to be invited onto radio shows, news programs back in the day to talk about this, right? And because I'm quite prominent in what I was doing, and I used to talk about it. And it was amazing that they had an agenda. They always had an agenda and what they wanted to talk about. Speed kills, or motorcycle riders were dangerous, or car drivers were bad and not looking out for motorcycle riders. And I would always say to them, it's not as simple as that. You can't just label something as that, because there are many motorcycle riders who are great, but some who are really, really bad in terms of not riding properly. Same with car drivers. Most are great, but occasionally, some are bad. You can't say that it's not all black and white. And it's the same with speed. Oh, people slow down. Well, if speed was the thing, then why do people have accidents at 30 miles an hour? Why do people have accidents at 20 miles an hour? Or why don't all people have accidents at 70, 80, 90, 100 miles an hour? Because it's circumstantial, isn't it? It's dependent on everything. So the law enforcement have to come out with blanket policies. And that's why you have speed limits. You have speed limits to make sure that people don't push it too far, don't drive beyond their capability. And there is some sense of logic in that. But there's also a lot of sense in logic where they say we're going to abandon all the rules and regulations. And they've tried to do this with trial programs in Holland, I believe. In Holland, Gert, they've done this in Holland as well, and other places where they've tried to have certain areas where road signs are taken away, the rules of the road are changed, speed limits. Germany, right? Autobahn, the second and third lane, I believe, or the third lane, I should say, is the speed limit. There's no speed limit. Now, obviously, if you cause an accident, whatever, there are lots of restrictions in how you're supposed to view the road ahead and watch for hazards and all that kind of stuff. But they make allowances for, and when there is a serious accident, there is a major accident, of course, because of the speeds involved. But it's not just about speed. It's not just about speed. It's about the whole thing, the whole awareness of that. And if we bring it back to this incident here, it's not just about taking over or overtaking two cars at a time. It's got to be more than that. It's not just about the speed. It's not, in which circumstances, what were the weather conditions like? Was it on a bend? All that kind of stuff. Was he in full control of the motorcycle when he was overtaking? What about the Harley Davidson rider? What was his position on the road? Was he riding right next to the white line? For example, and did that cause the accident as well? Was that a contributing factor? That's not to say he was at fault, but say these are contributing factors. So all of a sudden, and I also had arguments, disagreements, let's say, with people who would try and tell you how to be a better rider, like these advanced riding programs. And I'd say, well, okay, and I've done it myself, advanced rider and all that sort of stuff. But I would have disagreements to say, well, you're trying to get people to ride in a certain way, but you don't realize that way is actually a dangerous way. It's creating danger for people that don't, they shouldn't do it, especially if they're not fully aware. The biggest thing for advanced riding is to have an absolute awareness of hazard development and hazard prevention. That's the ultimate thing. Then if you not acknowledge exactly where everything is that can hurt you or you can hurt other people, and this takes in all the variables of, speed, motorcycle condition, tyres, road surface, weather conditions, wind, traffic density, road condition, but also road design, road camber, all that sort of. Take all those things into that's what you should be focusing on then. Because anybody can ride, whether you ride fast or whether you ride slow, you can have an accident. You can kill yourself and you can kill somebody else, right? If you lose control. But if you got those at your priority, the environment as a priority, then you can ride within that environment and adopt that time and space, then you'll dramatically reduce it. Gert, slogans are stupid. Make people aware more indeed. Yeah, absolutely right. Beefy, in 30 years completing accident reports, don't think I ever recorded a single one where speed was a sole factor causing the collision. Exactly right. Exactly right, Beefy. Yeah. It isn't. There isn't. But the problem is that safety campaigners would always brake were one of those ones that really annoyed me all the time here in the UK. This is, but it's always speed, and it's just like, well, speed is it's part of the puzzle, let's say, but it's not the only thing. And this is what really annoyed me. It's not the only thing, it's part of the puzzle. But anyway, I've gone off on a huge tangent there. Sorry about that. But I thought it was a really interesting story here. But not only a terrible tragedy, right? And obviously you can tell that the guy who's caused the accident is devastated, and I would be too. But there we go. Norcal Refrigeration HVAC is English culture scared of motorcycles? No, not at all. We love motorcycles. It's a big thing over here, I would say. My mum growing up was like, no way, she's from Nottingham. Oh, right, okay. We moved to the US and all my friends had bikes. Yeah, no, there's lots of people who've got bikes over here. And depending where you are. And it's like anything, really. There isn't in the United States, I suppose, there is more of this biker type thing, if you know what I mean. This kind of motorcycle club thing and everything, and that's got more. It's got nothing to do with motorcycles. That's got more to do with laws in the United States for general people, right? And what things you're allowed to do, what things you're not allowed to do, and the differentiation between the federal state and the local, the 50 states, as it were, But however, in the UK we don't have that. There is, one country, one law. We have different counties, which are very small states, if you like, and there's a bit of self-governance there. But in terms of the law, no, the law is the law. Yeah, and that's it. Listening to you and others who can think, is my extra insurance, never had an accident yet. Well, bless you, and I hope you never do. So Norcal, I don't think, no, I don't. I think it's just like anywhere, right? You're always going to get people who don't like motorcycles. There's going to be, put it this way, motorcycles is not the number one mode of transport in the UK, that's for sure. And there's possibly a greater feeling over the last few years that more people have got into motorcycling, not for the love of it per se, the passion, but more because to try and offset the rising cost of living, so they get motorcycles or any kind of two-wheeled mobility just to get on as it were. But there we go. But anyway, so I just think it's an interesting story there. It's an interesting discovery. It's an interesting thing to think about, to say, well, when you consider all of the factors that keep you safe on the road, you know that as a motorcycle rider, you know that if you get it wrong yourself or somebody else gets it wrong, you're going to be in pain or you're going to be dead. It's as simple as that, right? Now, hopefully you can avoid both of those, but hopefully the most important thing is that you can avoid the accident in the first place, or the crash or the collision in the first place. So there is a big thing to say, okay, well, analyze where you're at and what the conditions are and how you're riding, you know. And I talked about this in the past. I'm not going to talk about it now, but I talked about it in the past. But, you know, different riding styles for different riding conditions. But and it's not because I ride a Harley Davidson or I ride slower. You know, I've had sports bikes. I've ridden all sorts of bikes. I've ridden all sorts of things. So it's not you know, on road, off road. Or, you know, sometimes I have my fast riding days. Other times I have my slow riding days. It's not a particular thing that I'm saying people should ride slower, but it's about that awareness on the road. To, you know, and look, one thing I've noticed, certainly as I've got older, or as I am getting older, is that I'm getting more aware, more acutely aware of my health, and also my health, not only just my health, but let's say levels of fatigue, right? That could affect my concentration when I'm riding. And I've noticed it quite a few times, like early morning rides or late night rides, coming back from work, all that sort of stuff. And, or especially now, the last few weeks, I haven't ridden that much, and one of the reasons I haven't been feeling well for quite a while. I've been able to come and do this sort of stuff. I've been able to still go to work, but lots of times I just felt so rough that I thought, you know, I'm not going to get on the bike. I'm not going to get on the bike at, you know, 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning on icy roads, and then come back at 7:30 at night on icy roads, sub-zero temperatures. Do you know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing. Whereas before, years gone by, I'd still do it. I'd still be okay. Now, this is something, as I've got older, I'm definitely, and this has been going on now, I've got to say, for the last sort of 2 or 3 years, perhaps 3 or 4 years. Definitely taking a lot more acknowledgement of my personal physical condition when I'm riding as well. Norcal, I love my M8 Lowrider S. Lovely, 114, very nice, very nice, great bike. It's a great bike, the Lowrider S. I got to say, you know, yeah, it's I was going to say something. I don't know what this cough is. I tell you, it was. I was getting over it, and then it's come back again. And this is kind of thing, you know. I'm in and out of this cold thing. It's horrible. Let me have a bit more libation here. Caffeine libation, by the way. On my heater plate, I've got a heater plate here. Hold on, let me see if I can raise it up. Try not to burn my fingers. But look, there you go. Look. Wrong one. Heater plate. Best invention ever for a cold workshop. Anybody who's worked in a workshop or any cold area, you put your tea down or your coffee down and it gets cold within seconds. Now, a hot plate, boom, stays warm for hours. Anyway, guys, listen, it's been, an hour and 20. I've been rabbiting on for a while, so listen, hopefully it's... hopefully your Sunday is going to be a good one. Wherever you are, if you're listening later, whatever, let us know. Let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to come back and I'm watching football, so I'm going to be talking a bit more about football, but I won't do it on this channel because obviously it's all motorcycles, really. That's all I'm interested in for... especially my YouTube guys as well. But so I've got lots of interest, and the way the channel is going, it's always going to be motorcycle focused, but it's definitely going to have, as I keep on saying, there's going to be a lot more of this kind of discussion, a lot more live shows and everything like that. So hey, it's I've got lots of ideas for videos and also for shows in the future. Not only just information stuff, but whatever. So there's lots of coming, and I'm sure one of these things about a channel, one of the things about having a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel or whatever, it's about the evolution is always ongoing. There's always stuff to be talking about. So I've made changes to the website as well, revelatoralf.com, so you can yeah, you can see it's down there, revelatoralf.com. It's just coming up there. There you go. Look at that. You can contact me. You can contact me there if you want any ideas or anything you want covered. Excuse me. I've made changes to the website now. There is a resources page on the website. Let me just quickly bring it up for you, and I'll show you what it is. Website. There we go. So here's a website here. Ooh, wrong one. So here you see this resources page on the right, and if I click on that, get rid of that. You'll see here there's all the resources page. I did delete this page because I thought, well, do you know what? I'm not sure if I really want it there. I may change all the petrol motorcycles, electric motorcycles links and all that, but I'll just keep it there for now. But the Harley Davidson M8 page, if you're into Harley Davidsons and you want all the information about Harley Davidsons, which I put up a long time ago, it's still there. It's still there. So all the templates, all the information that I did, and everything like that. So there's lots of stuff. So people have been asking me about the templates which are made up, all that sort of stuff. You can still come here. You can still click on the links. They're all still working. But anyway, that's revelatoralf.com. Let's just get back to that. There we go. There we go. So that's the front page there. You can, you know, do all that stuff there. There's also here we go. If you're interested as well. Oops, wrong one. You can go to my Patreon page here as well, and you've got different support packages as well if you want to see the channel grow, or just different discussions as well. You can also go to all the you know, the social media pages, just like here, Revelator Alf, you know, on Facebook, it's on Twitter, LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff, if you're interested in that. Anyway, but listen, it's there's lots of stuff coming. There's going to be lots of stuff coming, but definitely a lot more live shows. This is definitely what I'm focusing on for this year. And it's, if there's stories to come out that I think I can make into videos as well, I'll do that. And we'll see. You know, I'd rather have good discussions, interesting things to talk about, because, you know, I like to do wrong one. I like to do that. Talk about it. It's a radio podcast thing. That's what it is. About motorcycles, about biking life, anything's up for debate. Anything's up for discussion as well. But anyway, listen, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for joining this afternoon. Thanks for watching, and well, I'll catch you on another video coming very, very soon. And well, all I can say is have a great Sunday. In whatever you're doing, have a great Sunday. It's been emotional. Cheers now.